Hey y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, as we promoted, we're going to be taking a look at the All Stakes Pick 5 at Kentucky Downs on Saturday. They're all graded stakes, they're all purses over $1 million, and there's some pretty tight fields, so let's take a look at it. The Kentucky Downs All Stakes Pick 5 is run on Saturday, and it comprises races 8 through 12. Leg 1 is race 8, and it's the Franklin Simpson Stakes. It's a grade 2, run at 6.5 furlongs on the turf, and it's for 3-year-olds. And just as a general note, Kentucky Downs is very different in configuration than other tracks in that it's pear-shaped. So the sprints are run on the widest turn, and I think it gives an advantage to early speed as well as those to the inside. So just a general note to keep in mind. As you can see, we've separated the field by running style, E, EP, P, and S, as most of you know what that is. And from that, we've culled our ones that we want to use, and obviously horses with a line drawn through it means we've tossed them. Sweet Cherry Pie, I think, it has a really big advantage here, being the lone speed. Is coming into the race in good form. I think needs to step it up, being in graded stakes company, but the form is good and looks like it won't be a problem moving forward. So going to get a little bit of a challenge perhaps from Mustache, but Mustache, when running in turf sprints last year, was coming from behind. So I'm not sure what tactics they're going to use here, but I think Sweet Cherry Pie has a really good opportunity to wire this field, being pretty much on the engine by himself. Two of a kind from the EPs. Brian Lynch is 41% in turf sprints at Kentucky Downs and 26% overall. He's having a good meet so far. And Two of a kind needs to step it up a little bit, but has demonstrated some good form recently. And given Lynch's familiarity over the track, I think it holds this one in good stead. And you definitely want to think about using. From the P's, Private Creed has a win over the track. I think that's really important. Has demonstrated good form and is comfortable in the graded stakes venue. And so I think has every chance in this race. And just a little bit of a question about whether he can close the deal. But I think he's definitely a competitor here. Playlist has since been coming into the 3-year-old year, has been progressively moving forward, coming off a long layoff, and I think is due for another move in that regard. Going to be laying a little off the pace. That might be a bit of a disadvantage here, possibly, but I think this one is ready to move forward. It's Wesley Ward, it's turf sprints, that's what he does, and I think this one will be a competitor here and as a possible win candidate. Behind Enemy Lines, this one really hasn't built on that Cutler Bay win coming from Europe. Showed a lot of promise, but really just hasn't moved forward. There seems to always be some issue or some reason that this one doesn't do better. The last race in particular had it really tight on the hedge and got held up slightly, but did keep on pretty well, which tells me this one is in decent form. I just like others better given the way things have gone so far, and you don't see that progression. Close the Game Sugar, speaking of progression, has the perfect kind for this race. The class levels are increasing as the race levels are increasing, and that's exactly what you want to see from a horse. Had a nice win last time, bit of an upset. Has a long stride, and it does take him a little while to get going, so I think the extra panel at 6.5 furlongs meets this one right between the eyes, and I really like this one as a win candidate. I'm worried about the fact that Sweet Cherry Pie will be all alone on the lead, so tactically it maybe doesn't set up the best, but I think this one is a logical candidate. And then from the AEs, you might want to think about Determinedly. This one has run on the turf before and has been pretty competitive. On the Derby Trail was probably running a little out of the wheelhouse, running at 2 turns and longer distances. I think cutting back to a sprint makes a lot of sense for this one and has shown class competitiveness. So Determinedly, you're probably going to get a price if he draws in one maybe you want to think about. So for our top 5, I like Sweet Cherry Pie. Tactically, it's a really good place for him, and his form is good, and it's going to be catch me if you can. The one who can most likely is Close the Game Sugar. Again, another one coming into the race in excellent form. Another move forward, and this one wins this race. So, Close the Game Sugar coming from behind, a little bit of a disadvantage, but I like his chances. Playlist again, Wesley Ward Turf Sprint. Moving forward, I think is very possible. Has been progressing pretty well. Private Creed is competitive in this race. I'm just not sure about getting over the top, but I think we'll factor in this race for sure. And then Two of a Kind, Brian Lynch, 41% turf sprint. You can't overlook that. This horse has been pretty competitive. Needs to step it up, but I think the track just might do it for him because of Lynch's familiarity with it. And you're going to get a really nice price. Might be a sleeper. And then Behind Enemy Lines, I'll leave it up to you whether you want to include or not. I think 5-1 is a bit of an underlay given the way this one has been running. Certainly seems capable, and I think the form is pretty good, but there always seems to be some impediment from this one getting on top. So that's our top 5 for the Franklin Simpson. Leg number 2 is race 9, and it's the Ladies Turf Stakes. It's run at a mile on the turf, and it's for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And again, if you look to the left, we separated by position. Note that there's no true front runner in this race, and I think that's really important. That the form isn't necessarily, the shape of the race isn't necessarily well defined, and it's rather interesting in that regard. Regal Realm from the EPs, I think, will probably be the leader by default. Got to be happy not to run against technical analysis anymore. They have the similar styles, and obviously technical analysis a little bit better horse. So Regal Realm should be on the lead. Going to get a little challenge from Haughty, but I think can withstand it, and I think is a competitor in this race. Also, White Frost. Really hard to look at this one as a logical favorite for this race. Lots of seconds, and you can't overlook that. This one never seems to get over the top. However, certainly has the talent, and likely can compete in this race. But I just think you have to bet against this horse with that many seconds. And also, Bill Mott, while being a great trainer, isn't doing that great at Kentucky Downs right now. Maybe a hangover from Saratoga, who knows? But White Frost definitely one more underneath, I think. Sparkle Blue is really intriguing to me. You're getting an excellent price, number 1. But number 2, it's Brendan Walsh, and he has just been red hot since Keeneland. And it just had no signs of slowing down here. He's at 33% for the meet. And I just think it's this horse is got decent form, and I think gets a little elevated by Brendan Walsh, of course. And I think this is a race you really need to have a price, and I think Sparkle Blue could very well be it. Needs to step it up a little bit, but I think might be in really good position to strike, and I think has a chance. And of course, from the closers, New Year's Eve, one last time. And the only thing about New Year's Eve is he can disappoint at times, and I'm not sure that he's, when you watch him run, he doesn't have that real explosive way of going. And sometimes when he doesn't have, you don't have pace to run to, that's the kind of horse that loses out. So I'm not sure that there's going to be a whole lot of pace in this race, and that's one of the reasons I threw out Henrietta Topham, because I just don't think there's a lot to be had here. And if that's the case, horses coming from behind are kind of up against it. But New Year's Eve, certainly good enough to be factoring in this race. So since we only have 7 in the race, we're going to do 4 instead of 5. Sparkle Blue, I'm going with, I love the value. I think you need it in this race. Brendan Walsh, red hot, why not? Got a lot of horses in here who are a little iffy as far as the win column. So I want a price. New Year's Eve certainly is capable of winning this race, but again, tactically, I'm not sure it works to his advantage the most. White Frost, lots of seconds. That's really my only qualm with White Frost. Certainly good enough to win. One you have to have in your mix. And then Regal Realm, because I think she's going to be on the lead, and that might be a pretty good place. If she slows it down enough, she has every chance to win. So leg 3 is race 10. It's the Ainsworth Turf Sprint, and it's at 6 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And this one, I think, the big issue, the thing you want to think about in this race is form more than anything else. And you note that some of the more prominent ones I'm not considering, and that includes No Balls. He has proven that he got caught in his last race, and I think his form is starting to slip a little bit. He's certainly going to have some advantages. This race pretty much starts on a turn, and he's on the as a front runner, should be able to get decent position. I just don't think he can hold it. From the EP's one-timer, I think is really logical. This horse won this race last year. Always important to have a record over the track at Kentucky Downs, and I think this one, with that in the current form, I see no reason that this one can't repeat and win it again. Bad Beat Brian, God bless him. There's always somebody better, isn't there? Especially at the graded stakes level. This is a hard knocker. He always brings his A game. It's just not good enough most of the time. This is a little softer field, so maybe we can elevate him a little bit, but I think under is more than likely. Cogburn, he can win this race. He's certainly good enough. He's in, from his past performances, you can see his form is pretty darn good. But I just got a feeling he's ready for a slip. That's the only thing I'm really basing on. I almost threw him out completely just for that reason. But you can't deny the talent, so I'm going to include him. But I have a feeling it's going to be more under for him. Dr. Zemth, to me, represents a bit of a wild card. He's in the 12 hole, which isn't the greatest place to be, but his form isn't bad. Closed pretty well last time, and it's not often you get Chad Brown at 6-1. But I think this one is sneaky good. I think he's in a distance that works for him, and I don't know how much pace he's going to have to run to, but tactically I think he should be able to work out a trip and get into a good position, and then it's a question of whether he's good enough. But I think Dr. Zemp might surprise in this race. And then finally, we'll just throw Eamon N on there. I really didn't like his last race. I had some high hopes for him. He was at a track, Monmouth, that he really likes, and he didn't really fire very well at all. Class-wise, I think he's up against it a bit here, but you are going to get a decent price, and he will be running late. And of the two closers, I think he definitely has the best chance to factor. So our top 5 looks like this. I'm going to use one-timer as on top. I think he's in the best form, has the class, and he has a record over the track. Lots to like. Dr. Zemp, again, I think can be a bit of a sleeper here. Needs to work out a trip, but I think he offers pretty good value and probably more likely to be under, but I think he has a chance. Cogburn, again, I'm not overly certain he's got his best game coming with this one. Also note Steve Asmussen is 0 for Kentucky Downs so far, but this one has the talent to win this race and certainly will factor, I think. I'm just not sure about on top. Bad Beat Brian brings it every time. You got to love a horse like this, but there's always seems to be somebody better at the graded stakes level. I think he'll be under, but not sure about coming on top. And then Eamon N, just to suck up, 30-1. You never know. May be able to, if things fall apart, he could be there, but likely under in the Trier Super is more likely. Leg 4 is race 11, and it's the Ladies Turf Sprint Stakes. It's a grade 2, run at 6.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And you look over to the left, and one thing I'll note is Train to Artemis is the lone speed in this race. That is true, but I really haven't liked the last 3 races from this horse, and has been a bit of a disappointment. So I'm going to sort of have a wait-and-see approach, and I would not talk you out of it if you wanted to use him, but I just don't get a very good feeling right now from the last 3 races. Bay Storm, you got to love a horse like this. She is as honest as they come, brings it every single time, and I see no reason why she won't be competitive here. Has a chance to win. Got a nice rail trip last time to get up, but is a little iffy to win. It always seems to be somebody else who gets the win, and you can say that about a lot of horses in these races. I do have to say that, but Bay Storm I think belongs in the mix for sure and could very well win it. From the P's, Wakanaka is one in particular that Again, another one that always seems to be somebody else. Just never seems to get over the top. And one of the things I noted in particular when watching her races, she runs with her head up quite a bit, and so the stride isn't fully extended, and she's not really bearing down what she's running. And I wonder if that's maybe the reason why she doesn't win more. Certainly has been knocking on the door a lot, and yet could very well win this, but I just got a feeling another under finish is more than likely. Tony Ann, I really liked that last race, and but for DeSormo's ride, I think she probably could have won. It broke really sharply, and then for some reason, a lot of jockeys do this on turf, took her back and lost position, and then re-rallied, and he had plenty of horse, but you'd like to think if she had stayed up amongst the leaders, tactically she would have been in a lot better position to win. So I really like Tori Ann in this spot, Tony Ann rather, and I think this one has a really big chance. You're probably going to get a pretty good price, especially since this one is coming from the West Coast, and really the softer turf is the only issue, but I like this one coming in. Warrior Comet is, you got to love, is always in the money, just 8 out of 10 times, I believe, and is a hard knocker. Not sure that she's got the top end to win this race, but I think can be competitive and is a good candidate for under. And then we have from the S's, from the closers, Gal in the Rush, and I really like this horse. You get Christophe Clement. This one is showing a forward progression, and Trained to Artemis being a little vulnerable. I think that perhaps there'll be some pace to run to, but likely it'll be backing up, and that will give Gal in the Rush a really good chance to compete in this race. And you're getting 12-1. I think that's a phenomenal value. So in the turf sprint, the top 5, I'm going with Gal in the Rush. I think given the fact that some of these horses don't win a lot and always seem to be underneath, I think that's another venue where you have to look for value, and I think I've got it with Gal in a Rush, so I'm going to take that shot that she'll be coming late. Tony Ann is another one I think is going to run a good race, and tactically may have a little bit of a jump on Gal in a Rush, but I think he'll be in good position late for this one. Bay Storm, hard knocker, every chance to win it for sure. But you just look at that record, and it always seems to be somebody better, so I'm going to try to beat her. Wakanaka, again, is way overdue to win one of these and could very well do it, but just looking at that form and that last race in particular, the way she runs, I just have a feeling it's going to be another under finish. And then Warrior Comet we'll throw on because she is a hard knocker. I'm not sure she's good enough to win this race, but I think is in good form and can be competitive here, especially when you consider 8 out of 10 times she's been first or second. So this one likes to compete, and you always have to like that. So finally we have Lake 5, and it's race number 12. It's the Kentucky Turf Cup, and it's a grade 2 running 1.5 miles on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And this is really interesting. I'm really looking forward to watching this because of the configuration of the track. To see who can handle it and who can't, because that first turn is awful narrow. So we look at the field. Get Smoking is the lone speed, and this one, is a hard knocker. Gives her all his all every time. I'm not sure that he can do it and carry him all the way at 1.5 miles on a merry chase, because he tends to run pretty aggressively, and I don't know that this one can really slow it down enough to stay the 12 panels, but I think we'll be competitive in this race as the lone speed. You never know. Me and Mr. C, this one, the pedigree really bothers me more than anything else. I'm just not sure that this one can get 1.5 miles. Now, just won at 1.25 miles, that's true, and Mike Maker is great at stretching horses out on the turf, and they certainly have been extending this one progressively. So this would be the climax, if you will, and ran a really big race last time, but I'm just not sure that this one can get 1.5 miles with the same effectiveness. But I think you can use for sure. Verstappen from the P's, this one won the Elkhorn, and we loved it, got the price we wanted, but followed it up with a couple races that were a little disappointing. We thought this one would want to would be moving forward. However, seems to have regathered himself and is moving back upward again. So I think that's a good place. Tactically should be right off of Get Smoking, and I think we'll have every chance. And you're probably going to get a pretty decent price too. Spooky Channel is, you know, just one of those horses that always seems to be there when you least expect it. And coming from the 12 hole, not the greatest place to be, but this one's a hard knocker. There's a lot of older horses in this race, and this one has proved at the fairgrounds that he can still muster a good effort. And this might be the kind of race that he could be right in the mix. So Spooky Channel at a pretty good price, I'll take. And then from the S's, we're going to take Red Knight. What can you say? 9 years old, and he just keeps firing. You know, it's hard to know sometimes when to use him and when not to, but I think you absolutely have to, just because of his track record. And he has won this race before and has a positive record over Kentucky Downs. So Red Knight, I think, is one you have to use. Now, from the also eligibles, we got a couple of them. Dog is a younger horse, which I think is important in this race and is on the upswing. And so I think being a late runner, this one may be one you want to use if he draws in. Same thing to be said with Cellist. Very good form, got a good second last time, and appears to be on the upswing. So if either one of those draws in, I think those are ones that you want to consider. So here's what our top 5 looks like. We're going to take Verstappen. I think tactically he's going to be in a good position. I'm not sure Get Smoking can wire this field, but when he's backing up, Verstappen should be right there and could get the jump on some of the late runners. And so I think Verstappen has a really good shot here. Spooky Channel number 2 is going to be pressing the pace as well. And again, tactically will be in a good position, and then it'll be just a question if he's good enough. But he has proven in the past he can surprise and he can fire. You're getting 20 to 1, great price. Red Knight, late runner. He's won on this track before. You can never count him out. This might be the perfect scenario for him. So Red Knight could very well win this, and I think you can use him. Good price too, 4 to 1. Get Smoking, just not sure about this one. Going 1.5 miles. I think that might be a little long, but particularly the way this one runs, but is in good form and could very well wire this field as the lone speed. And then me and Mr. C have some doubts about 1.5 miles. That might be a little too far, but the form has been pretty good, and they have been progressively extending this one, and he's answered the call each time. So me and Mr. C, I think you can, at 10 to 1 is a pretty good price for horses in decent form. And then Dog and Cellist as are also eligibles if they draw in. I think you're getting good value with either one of them, and either one of them has a puncher's chance of taking this one down. So here's what our pick 5 ticket looks like, and I don't think there's a race you can single here. They're all pretty deep fields and really kind of a wide open sequence. So I think it's imperative that you find prices and that you take a stand and hope for the best, and that's what we're going to try to do here. In leg 1, we're going to use 6, 7, 11. In race 9, in leg 2, we're going to use 1, 6, and 7. In leg 3, we're going to use 1 and 12, and I left Cogburn at number 7 if you want to widen your scope of your ticket to use. And then leg 4, race 11, 5, 6, 9. And leg 5, race 12, we're going to use 2, 3, and 12. So that's 3 by 3 by 2 by 3 by 3. That's an $81 ticket on a 50-cent base. And I think hitting this ticket is going to pay because there is a lot of value to be had. So we'll take our stab and hope for the best. So that's the pick 5. It is a tough sequence. Not one race that you can really single. It's pretty wide open in all of them, so I think you got to have value, and I think this is going to pay pretty well because I don't see a lot of chalk coming through in this sequence. So I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. If you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. It does help to keep us going, and we thank all of you for your support. We will have some updates to the website, and I'll let you know about those. We're going to spread our wings a little bit and cover some more tracks now that Saratoga is over. So be on the lookout for that, and I'll let you know details as they become apparent. So that's it from here, and I'll be talking to you in the very near future. And until then, be well.